What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Scalp Solutions podcast with your host, David Santiago. And today, my guest is my main man, JW Cortés. What's going on, my brother?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to participate in the podcast, man. I appreciate you.
Of course.
So let's get right into it, right? Speaking about time and you being busy, you have you got a very big event coming up soon. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, on Friday, December 13th, we're going to be hosting the third annual Detective Rafael Ramos toy drive. And for those of your listeners who do not know who Detective Rafael Ramos was, this year also marks the fifth year anniversary that he and his partner, Wenjen Lu, they were sitting in their patrol car in Brooklyn, and this crazy lunatic went up to their car and shot and killed them both, execution style. So that might strike a chord with some of your listeners. They may remember that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, about a year or so after the horrific killings of these two men, the widow, Rafael Ramos's widow, Maritza, she started this foundation, and I've since joined the board as a board member. And we wanted to make this year's event, our annual toy drive, the biggest that it's ever been. So it's going to be star-studded. We've got many, many celebrities coming. We've got great food, live music, tons of surprises, and ultimately, our goal is basically to do two things. It's two prongs, right? One is we want to collect as many toys as possible, upwards to 2,000 toys if possible. And I think probably the bigger reason for this toy drive is to strengthen and continue the legacy of these two men who absolutely love their families and children.
Absolutely. And you know what? Speaking about the lineup, man, you got some hitters coming out. You got some
Yeah.
Gotham actors. You got
Hmm.
Tommy from Power,
Hmm.
Victor
Absolutely.
Martinez. This is amazing, man. And these were all your efforts, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Obviously everyone in the foundation has a different strength. Me being the only actor on the board, I did what I could do, and most of it was simply me either calling or texting some of my celebrity friends and just asking for a favor, and making sure that I kind of, didn't sugarcoat what this was about. And surprisingly, a lot of people, were very honored that I had even considered them to be a part of this. So, yeah, to your point, we have Joseph Sikora, who plays Tommy Egan on Power. We have the gentleman who played Agent Tampio, who had a love affair with Angela. For those who watched the show, his real name is Rich Riker. He'll be there. We have the guy who plays the Penguin on Gotham, right? Oswald
Yeah,
Cobblepot,
Lord
Mr.
something
Robin Lord
Taylor.
Taylor.
Yeah.
And I have so many more names up my sleeve. But I tell people this is gonna feel like you were in a Mike Tyson fight because you're gonna get hit from every single direction with our surprises.
Yeah, you got a little bit of everything. You got some you got TKA with the music. You got some comedy right there from Mark
We got
Vieira.
Mark Vieira. For those of you who don't know, Mark
Man, that
Vieira
dude
is
is
gonna be he's
amazing.
hysterical. Yeah, he's incredible, and he's about to record his very own HBO special. So we're very fortunate we got him now before he gets too big.
That's awesome, man. You taking such a tragic event that happened and flipping it around, bringing it back to the families and remembrance. Those two police officers that died. Doing a an amazing, outstanding service to the community, and that's very noble of you, man.
Yeah, anybody that's ever spent any time in uniform or done any kind of work for the community, you start seeing the similarities in yourself and your comrades, right? And so for myself, having been a real police officer, having served in the Marine Corps, you hear of these people who lose their lives, and you see, man, that could have very easily been me. And so
Yeah,
there's a little bit of
absolutely.
guilt sometimes in that because you're like, "Well, why am I being spared?" And then there's also a sense of responsibility to honor that, the fact that you were spared and that wasn't you, you
Yeah,
know.
no, absolutely, man. And again, I commend you for putting on this event, wearing, continuing to wear a uniform of a
Mhm.
police officer, and which comes up with the next question: this platform, prior to you having this platform, what were you doing?
As far as like my philanthropic initiatives, you mean, or just as career?
As a career before Hollywood, before this platform that you have now as an
Yes.
entertainer, as an actor, what was JW doing?
Yeah, JW was serving. I served for nearly 13 years in the Marine Corps. It was something that I thought would be a quick thing, kind of, let me do my time. But really, what I was doing was I was escaping a really bad situation back home. I grew up on a block that the NYPD had nicknamed Little Vietnam. My building that I lived in was next to a methadone clinic. So that, coupled with the influences of an older brother who was at one time leader of the Latin Kings,
Mm,
all those things made for a really dangerous situation for myself. I could have easily been led astray. And so, I joined the Marine Corps to get away. And what I thought would be a temporary thing, I wound up loving it. I found myself being very, very immersed into the life of a Marine, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I got to do some really great things. So, to answer your question, I spent, like I said, nearly 13 years in the Marine Corps, came home from the war in Iraq in '03, and the police department called me. And again, I thought this would be a quick temporary job. I figured I could do this. And close to 16 years now, I've worn the uniform of a police officer in New
thank
York.
you.
You're very welcome. And after about a year or so of being on the job, I went back to a moment in Kuwait right before we went into Iraq, where my life and the life of my fellow comrades was being compromised under a heavy Scud missile attack. And that's when I decided I wasn't ready to die. I had so many things I had always wanted to try and experience, and that included acting, acting and singing, and nobody knew that, and it was going to die with me. And it reminded me of this famous speaker named Les Brown, who said, "The wealthiest place on earth is the cemetery."
Wow.
Because every unknown actor, singer, scientist, inventor, people who had all these, great ideas and gifts and never acted on them died with them.
Wow, that's very powerful, man. So it took you being in Iraq. So prior to that incident, right? So you're in Kuwait and you're undergoing these Scud missile attack. Did you ever even think about getting into acting, or was it this moment that caused you to, like, you know what, this is what I really want to do?
Right, right. Yeah, that's a great question. So in high school, when I was in school, there was a theater club and there was also a choir. So I sang in the choir, and my school was predominantly African American, sprinkled in with some Latinos and some white people, but for the most part, it was predominantly black. So,
Sounds
you know,
like
grow,
Brooklyn.
growing up, I listened to either salsa music, or I grew up listening to Motown. So Motown, and then sprinkled in as I got a little bit more hip hop. All those things were heavily influenced in me. And so when I got to high school, I was surrounded by people who also loved that type of music. And so we would sing in the hallways of Lafayette High School. We would sing on the subway ride from Coney Island back to Sunset Park, Brooklyn. And I really started taking a liking to it. And people kept telling me and the guys, "You guys sound really good. You should seriously consider doing something." But like I said, there was no support system at home for me to even consider that as a serious career. And quite honestly, after I joined the Marine Corps, I received a letter in boot camp from my girlfriend at the time, who wrote a handwritten letter. And in the envelope, she had ripped off the front page of the Daily News. And on it was my brother being arrested, along with a couple hundred other Latin kings. And, you know, I think about that moment, and I think about that decision to join the Marine Corps and how that could have been me very easily. And it wasn't,
Wow.
it wasn't.
So do you think her sending you that picture was kind of her telling you, like, you made a great decision to get out of here?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was definitely, an affirmation. It was all of those things, and it worked because I thought about it a lot. I thought about it about those moments about joining the service, because anyone that's ever served, there are moments when you're in many moments where you question this decision, like, this guy's yelling at me, or I'm cold, I'm wet, I'm hungry, I'm miserable, I'm freezing to, all these things. And you do question that decision, and but that always was in the back of my mind and my subconscious telling me, no, you gotta continue pushing forward,
Absolutely. So, all right.
Yeah.
So, you push it forward, you get through the Marine Corps, and, you didn't mention this, but, you did 13, it was 13 years or 14 years in the Marine Corps?
Almost 13.
Almost 13 years in the Marine Corps, but you got out at what rank? Because I think that's very important because that's a very significant and very powerful, prestigious rank.
Yeah, I left as a what they call a gunnery sergeant, and for short, they call us gunnies. And being called gunny, even though it's an abbreviated version of the entire name of the rank, it's like there's a time honored tradition in that. It's kind of like, you know um the rank of gunny, you're kind of looked upon as someone that's been around the block a few times, a couple of things, you're expected to exemplify, all the leadership traits the Marine Corps expects of you. And it's something that I had always wanted to, to reach within my career, and I was able to do so in a pretty, reasonable amount of time in with my time in the Marine Corps. So, yeah, I'm very proud of the fact that I was able to achieve that rank.
Outstanding. So, when does Gunnery Sergeant Cortez tell himself, you know what, I'm ready to take it to the next level. I'm ready to go to Hollywood.
That's a great question. So I come home in '03, '04. I joined the police department. About a year or so into my time in the police department, um, and mind you, I was, battling with some demons in my mind, and having a lot of questions about what I was going to do for the next, phase of my life up to that point. And I remember, opening up the daily newspaper, or the New York Post, I forget which one, and I was at home with my very, very pregnant wife, and I turned to her and I said, they're having an open casting for this thing, and I've always dreamt about being an actor. And she kind of looked at me like, wait a minute, Marine Corps, now you're a cop, now you want to become an actor? Like, dude, you got to make up your mind. As she's, holding her very big belly. And I just explained to her that it was something I had always dreamt of trying, and I just wanted her to be okay with me trying. So I did, and I tell this story often. My first, audition, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know any actors. I didn't know anything. I simply bought a newspaper called Backstage. It was, in an area in my beat. They had a little newspaper stand, Hudson News, and I bought this newspaper, and very quietly I went through all of the castings, and I circled one that I thought I'd be right for. I show up, you go into this room, and you're waiting there with other people who obviously they knew what they were doing, and nobody talks to you. So I sat there quietly. I signed my name on a piece of paper, and the lady come out. She came out of the room, and I was the next one. She said, "J.W. Cortez," and she looked at me and she says, "Headshot." Now, as
Listen,
a as a Marine, a headshot
it's night night.
means one thing, right?
Somebody's going night night.
Right. Somebody's going, bye bye. And so I looked at her like, "Are you sure you want me to demonstrate that?" Like, I didn't. I looked at her like, she had 10 heads, and
So
I wish, I hope that one day I get to run into her, because she could have said, "You know what, get out of here." But if for whatever reason she must have saw the innocence in my eyes, and she turned her head, to the side and said, "Oh, sweetie, you don't know what that is, do you?" I said, "I have no idea." She's like, "Your picture. Do you have your picture?" And I said, "No, but where do I get one?" And she said, "No, it doesn't work that way." So she took about 5 minutes, more than probably, what the time that she had to spare. And she says, "You need to get yourself a professional headshot. Then you want to add a resume to the back of it, and but not today. You have to figure that out and come back." And so, I was a bit embarrassed. I walked out of that room with my tail between my legs, but still very determined to honor that moment in Kuwait, that I said to myself, I would never, ever allow myself to feel this way again. Never allow another opportunity to pass me by. So I got smart. And I thought about it long and hard, and I said to myself, what can I apply from the Marine Corps? What can I take from that training and that experience and apply to this world of acting? And I came up with one simple word, man: discipline.
Discipline.
Discipline. You're never out of the fight. You don't quit when you're tired. You quit when you're done. And so I
Amen.
just applied that same, I don't know, tenacity, being hard headed, um, willing to embarrass myself some more. And I applied it, and I went to acting school, and it changed my life. It changed my outlook on everything. And I started to book little jobs, you know.
And here we are now, Mr. J.W. Cortez, hosting. You're doing a lot of hosting and all that stuff now, huh, man?
I do a lot of hosting. It's interesting.
You're
People
you're a
like to
popular
hire
popular
actors.
guy, man. You know what? I got to see you host about two functions, and knowing you personally, not that I ever doubted, what you can do with the mic, because I was fortunate enough to witness you put on some very good theatrics in the United
Yes,
States Marine Corps. But
yes, sir.
you're a funny dude, bro. You you're a
I
funny
don't know.
dude,
I don't know
bro.
if you mean that, Dave. I
No,
don't
I
know if
mean it. I
you're.
mean it. You're a funny friend, man. You're a funny
Well, I
dude.
think you're funny, and you're funnier,
I
and
try. I
yeah,
try.
yeah. You definitely need to get into stand up, and I want to help you break into that because I think quietly, secretly, you want to be a stand up comedian.
You
You
want to know?
should
You want to know a secret?
talk to me.
My entire life, I have wanted to do something in comedy, and I think this is my initiation right here. This podcast.
I think you're onto something. I mean, I was looking at some of your social media posts, and there's one in particular where you're trying to, make a shot on a basketball court and you're by
Kobe.
yourself, Kobe. And I literally was laughing so hard. People were walking up to me and they were saying, What are you watching?" And I just showed it to them. I couldn't even talk. Like I had tears in my eyes. And yeah, listen,
Yeah,
I
I'm
think I
trying.
think you definitely are onto something.
I'm trying, brother. Hair loss is a very serious topic, and I'm just trying to I'm trying to desensitize that. So I'm putting little funny videos and stuff like that. But this is not about me. This is about you, all right? When you have your podcast, you can ask me all these questions, all right, bro? And
Got it.
I
Okay.
might do it for free.
Got
Um,
it. Got it.
so all right. So what has been your most difficult experience in Hollywood? Like what has been the biggest hurdle for you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because I think that as much as sometimes I may feel it's my problem, it really is it's like an onion, right? There's so many layers to that onion. And so, each layer for me represents generations of actors who look like me, whether or not they're Latino or not, just by simply looking like me. Many, many, many generations have experienced the same frustrations that I'm experiencing today. So it's not new, but it's still ongoing. And here's what I'm talking about. Basically, you know, y- there are these things called breakdowns where, let's say, you have a new movie you want to do about scalp solutions, and
Coming
X
soon.
amount of actors are white, X amount of actors are Latino, Black, Asian, whatever have you. That number of that ratio is never in favor of Latinos unless it's something very, very specific, but those projects come far and few in between. So, for example, you look at the Law and Orders on primetime television, the dramedies, the comedies, those sitcoms. Very rarely will you see a predominantly colored, not colored, but any other shade than white be the majority of that cast. Very few. They've happened, but they're far and few in between. So that's an issue that is still ongoing today. Even on my show, I can talk about my own personal experience on Gotham. On Gotham, I was probably one of maybe three Latinos on the show that I knew of. The rest were what they were.
This is when you play
Um,
detective. This is playing Detective Alvarez. Detective
right,
Carlos
exactly. I,
Alvarez.
I was playing a recurring role on for 5 seasons of a show called Gotham on primetime television Fox, and it was by produced by Warner Brothers. Now, here's my own personal dilemma with all of this.
Let's hear it.
So often, you and I and folks like you and I who have served and have served honorably in both uniforms, Marine and police department, more often than not, people will refer to us as heroes. We don't call ourselves that, but that's how we're referred to. And more often than not, you and I and folks like us will say, we're not the real heroes. The heroes are the ones who've made the ultimate sacrifice. But nonetheless, that's how we're referred to in the media, if we do something heroic, or in coffee shops throughout the United States and the world. Here's my dilemma. My dilemma is, if folks like you and I who look like you and I can be called superheroes, why is it that we never see folks like you and I portrayed as superheroes?
Oh,
And so this is an ongoing thing for me, and I never can get a solid answer. But the more you start following the smell, the more you uncover that the smell is just a big pile of bullshit, right? Because they may say that we're not marketable. They may say that folks won't come to see a film with someone like you and I in the lead playing a superhero. But the numbers are staggering in that we as Latinos consume the most media out of all ethnicities. When we go to the movie theaters, we consume the most popcorn. No
wow.
surprises there.
These are facts.
We, as a fact, the largest percentage of people turning 18 years old in America are Latinos. So if the marketing is done correctly, we will support these films because that's what we do for everyone else. So it's just time. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of not seeing it. We are doing the same things that other people are doing. We've done it, and I always say you walk through any pueblo in Puerto Rico, any small town in Puerto Rico, you'll always see there's a church in the middle of the town, but there's also some sort of plaque or a statue and names, many
Of
names
many
of fallen Puerto
heroes.
Ricans who have died for this country.
Yeah, absolutely. That,
Yeah, man.
that are never mentioned, that we don't even know of in this country,
We don't know. We
unfortunately.
don't know. It's funny because somebody was on social media a few years back asking people, why is this immigrant singing our national anthem? And the immigrant was Mark Anthony. You know,
Jesus Christ.
yeah.
Getting back to with the whole movie thing and the the Latino actors not getting their fair shot, right? I'm no movie critic, movie buff, but when I saw the Avengers, no, I'm sorry, when it was Black Panther and I saw White Tiger, and me growing up having read nothing but comic books, I knew that White Tiger, like, that was my guy because he
Mm,
was Puerto Rican. So for
that's
all
right.
these years we had this Puerto Rican character, and it was like, all right, he's getting a little bit of love, but now we see him in the big screen, and I'm kind of like, wait a minute, why did that happen?
Yes. Yes.
So I could only imagine you as an actor how that made you cringe, if you even knew that White Tiger, the entire series of Black Panther, and then Marvel, he was a Puerto Rican.
Yeah, Hector Ayala is his name in the comics, and
Look at
no,
that.
I'm very well informed of our Puerto Rican comic book heroes. I have to be, um, and I think more Latinos should know these characters because they're kept in a vault, right? Marvel and DC have hundreds upon hundreds of characters that they have access to, and for whatever reason, they'll go through the entire vault and they'll pick whoever they pick for whatever reasons, but ours are still in there collecting dust, but they're viable characters, and I just think it's time. I just think it's time, and there is some headway being made, but just it's at a snail's pace.
You ready to take the lead on that, or what? We're gonna have a Detective Carlos Alvarez spin, or what, man?
Listen, yes, let's do it. No,
Why not?
absolutely. Of course I'm ready. I'm ready along with hundreds and possibly thousands of other actors who we're trained. We're just as talented,
I have a superhero name that I've been waiting to release for years, bro. And he's gonna have like Marine Corps powers, but I want him to be called Sergeant Chucha.
Tell me
He's
about his costume. What does he
he's
wear? Does
he's
he wear
my
a cape?
alter ego, bro. He's my alter. He does wear a cape, so he's wearing camis, and he's got a cami cape. No superhero has a camouflaging cape, bro. Cami
Which is
cape with a
silly. They should be
bandana to the side
camouflaged.
because I'm from New York, and every word that I say starts with an S in front of it.
So how how
Sergeant
how would
Chucha is
he
gonna
how would
come
he
to life.
right, how would he fight? Like, would he fight like the Batman and stuff? No, right? Batman's a good dude.
No, Batman's a good dude. I'm just taking care of the
So how
bad
about the
guys. I'll be
Joker?
with
Tell
a
me about
240
how would he
Golf.
talk to the Joker?
Be like, hey, stupid. That's not funny. So JW, check this out, my brother, right? You're a
Yeah,
speaker, you're a philanthropist, a first responder, a Marine Corps veteran. What impact would you like to leave on this world, in your family, Hollywood, just in general? What impact? What do you want to, what's the legacy you want to leave behind?
that's a really great question. I think I would have answered this question differently 5 years ago and maybe 10 years ago. Those responses would all be different. I can tell you that today in 2019, on November 22nd, um, it it's something that I never really kind of thought of as much as I have in the last maybe 2, 3 years. And here's my answer. Having children now has changed my perspective on everything. Acting and being successful at it, working on various television shows and in films, has changed my perspective. I can tell you there are several moments in my career which have been sprung off of this acting career where it all made sense. And I'll tell you, I was invited to visit St. Jude's Children's Hospital for Cancer Research. That trip, I'm not going to say it fucked me up in a negative way, but it shook me up to my core, and it made me realize how lucky I am, how thankful I better be, and just the fact that I have healthy children, and it's just the blessings that were so in my face. And sometimes we have to step back to see how lucky and blessed we are. But that trip also afforded me the opportunity to realize that this platform that I have of acting, which by the way, television acting is so non-rewarding. You shoot something for days on end, it ends up on television for a second to a minute if you're lucky, and there's no one there to ever applaud you after each take. It just doesn't happen. So you're never going to get fully rewarded in that sense. So the reward comes from the fact that I'm able to enter these rooms like St. Jude's Children's Hospital, like Bethesda, Maryland, Walter Reed, schools and counseling places. The fact that I get invited into these rooms because of that career, and I get to speak and meet and influence young people, severely injured people, recovering people, because they're willing to listen to what I have to say and trust me in that delivery. That has been the greatest gift of all of this. So that's a long answer to your question, but ultimately, my impact and my legacy, I believe, will be that I've used my experiences in uniform, my experiences in the entertainment business, and I have used it for the betterment of everyone else around me. That is the most selfish thing I've ever done, and yet the most rewarding thing, doing for others. So, my two sons, Jaden and Jonah, are now of age, and they're able to have their own opinions, and they have their own thoughts. And I hope that I can somehow, some way influence them to seeing that this is ultimately what we're here on this earth to do.
Outstanding. And I have no doubt in my mind that you will, in fact, do that job for them, brother.
Yes, sir.
So check this out, man. I wanna bring you into my world for a little bit. All right.
Yes.
How important is your hair to you being in Hollywood?
um, it's as important as my weapon is to me when I'm in at work. It's yeah, I don't hair is important, and I like my hair. And when I'm having a good hair day, I feel invincible, brother.
Tell me, you know what? Tell me what is your daily routine? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, dude. Your hair is fucking amazing. All right. I'm a bald man with a tattooed hairline, okay?
Yes.
When I look at your pictures and the way you mousse that bad boy,
Yes.
that shine, fluff to it, I know some serious work goes into that because you don't look like a dude that just wakes up in the morning, you know, rubs his fingers through the hair and just keeps it moving. You look like you put some time into that.
Yeah, no, I put just as much time into it as getting, picking out clothes to wear. It's a trial and error thing for me. I've used many different types of hair products. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you what I used.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a
absolutely.
product
Yeah, make
placement.
them
Yeah,
famous, bro. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I use a product in my hair called Layrite,
Lay right.
Layrite.
It's a
I
paste.
use the vanilla scented one. It works for me. It allows me to style my hair. My hair is naturally very wavy. And so, if I don't want the wavy look, I want to keep it a bit more straighter, more structured, then lay right works for me. It goes on, like a gel, and it washes out very, very easily. Um, I try not to wash my hair every day. They say you shouldn't. I believe that.
Yeah,
I
it
do
dries out the
notice,
scalp.
there's natural oils going on in there. Um, but yeah, man, hair is important. I've had some hair loss, so it's alarming when you look in the mirror and you start seeing more of your forehead. You're like, "What the fuck is this?"
How that?
And I got a big forehead to begin with, so I'm not. I don't need the extra help there.
So are you experiencing hair loss, or at some point you experienced some hair loss?
Yeah, if I look back at earlier pictures when I used to get shape ups with my fades, the barber would, go straight across. And then over the years, like the outer edges of that shape up started to kind of,
The
you
widow's
know,
peaks.
yeah, like widow's peak on steroids is what it looked like. So it was like an upside down U.
Yeah, there's the McDonald's sign. That's what I had.
Yeah, the McDonald's sign, and it's bad when your son is looking at you and you think you have something on your face, or you're swiping at your face and he's looking at you and going, no, it's not, it's
What are
not on
you
your face.
doing?
And he uses his finger, his little tiny finger, index finger, and he traces the letter M.
On your
That was a
forehead?
moment where I'm like, son of a bitch.
Wow, that's very disrespectful. So, did you? Are you aware though? Are you aware of like the available hair loss solutions that are out there for men and women?
I see some out there. Obviously, I've learned a lot about scalp micropigmentation through Scalp Solutions through you. I
Shameless
think that's
plug.
an amazing thing.
Thank you, sir.
Uh, yeah, SMP is super cool. If I had that much hair loss, I definitely would use it. But yeah, I've seen for example, on Instagram, I've seen bald men come out. I guess they're like gluable wigs. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's fucking genius.
What do you say? Would you seen them come out? What?
It looks like they're bald, right? They're completely bald, and next thing you know, the guy has like dreadlocks.
Oh, you talking about the cranial prosthesis? That's the hair units.
The hair units. I
Yes.
never even knew. And somebody said that Steve Harvey used to use one.
Yes, because he used that for years. Because you see, when he went bald, it was like completely bald. There was no like grain. There was no shadow.
Nothing.
Um, Cranial prosthesis has been around for at least 30 years. Do you remember the Hair Club for Men commercials at all?
Yes, I
That's
do.
exactly what that was.
Got it.
So the
Got
dude
it.
was like,
Wait a minute. So you're telling me that those weren't hair transplant patients?
no, that's cranial prosthesis. That's essentially is a hair unit. It's human hair on lace, and it gets bonded to the scalp and blended
Wow.
in with the remainder of the healthy hair that the client does have.
Right. I always see
Yeah,
them jump into the water and they come out and they're rubbing their head. And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
gosh,
that's nice, but those guys are not wearing hair units. That fucker in that commercial has his full head of hair. That's his
full
shit.
head of hair.
Yeah, yeah.
Smart,
So
so, yeah, you know what? Smart marketing, right?
would
I mean,
you
even Biggie spoke about it.
what about hair loss?
Well, he said, he used the cash phrase, right? I'm not only
I'm
the
not only the
president, I'm
president, I'm
also a
also a
client.
client.
Right.
I thought you was
Yeah.
calling me Biggie because I like to use that phrase too,
I know you
which
do.
is acceptable. I'd appreciate it. Um, so you're familiar with the SMP? You said if you was experienced that severe of a hair loss, you would do the SMP. So you wouldn't do the hair unit. You wouldn't use the cranial prosthesis.
I think you got to stay in your lane, right? And for my type of lifestyle, I'm an active guy, right? I love working out. I love, playing sports, and I have two boys who are into sports. So I wouldn't feel comfortable being able to do all of those things, knowing that this thing on top of my head may potentially come off. I don't know. I wouldn't want that in the back of my subconscious, kind of living there.
You might pull the top down and the other top comes down.
And the other top comes down, and people are looking at you and just
That
oh, they're shaking their head no.
that is a big that is a big fear and concern. But when it's installed correctly, like somebody that works at a Scalp Solutions, you'll be all right. You don't have to worry about that. So
You don't have to worry about
if
that.
you got brothers, right? So let's say one of your brothers, he's experiencing some hair loss. Which route would you send him?
It's funny you say that. I do have one brother who I don't know if he's in denial. I don't know what his
Just give
problem
me
is,
his
but
number, bro. I'll holler at him.
yeah, you need to holler at him. Yeah, I would say, listen, you're rocking a tight Caesar as it is, basically, like a number one all the way around. Just fill in the empty spaces.
What's the
Um,
empty space? Is he got the skin yarmulke?
he's got the skin. Yeah, he's got the skin yarmulke. So it's listen. What I love about it is obviously I think from what I understand, it sometimes takes more than one session, correct?
Yeah, usually 3 sessions to
Three
get a
sessions.
nice
All right.
full complete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So three sessions over the span of how many weeks?
So between the first and second session, and this is for me, this is how I conduct business. I do anywhere from 7 to 10 days in between, and then from the second to the third session, I'll do anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks. That's just me. I don't know how many other people do that, but I like for the scalp to go through its natural exfoliation phase, so that I
Hmm.
can see how the pigment metabolizes, and it'll let me know if I need to make any adjustments for his
There
last
you go.
session.
Right. So I mean, so you're essentially talking about in the span of 2 months, you're going to go from being whatever you are or whatever stage you are in your hair loss to basically coming back with a full, the appearance of a full head of hair. Not a head of hair, I
Well,
should say.
full
What would you say?
shaven head of hair. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So that that's it's not a long time to come back to that. But yet, like my brother, for example, he's been this way for years. Years. I just don't see you're talking about possibly 2 months, but you'll go for the however many more years complaining about something that can be fixed in a matter of 2 months.
But
So
something, that's such a huge misconception, because a lot of people think, you know what, 2 months and now I'm gonna have hair. You think my friends and family members are not gonna call me out on it? And I've only had one person that told me someone called him out on it, but it was because it was a very, it was a close relative. Everyone else, to include some coworkers, people were just like, "Oh wow, you got a new haircut." Like they were so oblivious to the, like, "Oh man, you were bald, dude." It's like, "Oh no, you got a haircut. Like you shaved your head down." So for the most part, a lot of people think, "Oh, I'm gonna get called out," and they don't. I was one of them. You never told me I was bald and all of a sudden I have hair,
right.
or were you just being a good friend?
I was being the best friend that I could be, Dave.
Damn you, damn you. All right, so check this out. You're a married man. All good. Let's take you back to Sergeant Cortez, when you were a stud. Well, you still a stud now, bro. All right. Would you date a woman who was wearing a hair unit? Not a wig, not just a regular wig, where she like can just tie her hair up and just put it on, and she's only rocking, it for the evening. I'm talking about like she's got a bonded to her scalp hair unit. Would you date her if she's beautiful, intelligent, confident,
Mhm.
and approaches you?
I would say that I've never been in that situation, but I'm a mature person, right? No one is perfect. No one is ever satisfied 100%. I've never met someone that's 100% satisfied with their appearance. I know I'm not, right? We're always looking to be better.
Right.
So You know, over time, I've learned that there are more important things than just, maybe hair or whatever have you. I personally love a woman with a good head of hair. I love it. I think it really says a lot about her as a person, her cleanliness, the type of style she's using, and I just love it. I love it. Would I be open to that? I think I might be, I think I might be. I've never had that experience. I don't know what it's like. I don't know if I'm able to pull it, let's be honest.
Well,
If I
you
went to
absolutely can, especially if it was just freshly bonded, and she would, you're gonna, you're gonna hurt her. You might get slapped.
you might get
Yeah,
slapped,
yeah.
right.
Now, if you
Yeah,
do it
yeah.
into week two,
Uh-huh.
you absolutely will be, you'll pull it right off, and then you
Right.
you still might get slapped, but it'll be a different kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
You've officially embarrassed her. It might be a wrap for you at that time.
Right. Well, I mean, as long as I don't pull it and I got a whole head of hair in my hand.
You're in good shape then.
Right.
JW, my brother, I appreciate
Yes.
you taking the time to chop it
Yes,
up with
sir.
me.
Absolutely.
Please let everyone know where they can find you, and one more time, let them know about the event that you got going on.
Yeah, so I'm available on all social media platforms under my name, JW Cortez, Cortez with an S. I'm very active. I handle my own accounts. And again, the Detective Rafael Ramos Foundation's third annual toy drive. Tons of celebrities already confirmed. Tons of lots of live acts, music, DJ, food, all included in the price. And ultimately, we're doing two things, and that is collecting over 2,000 toys and strengthening and continuing the legacy of these two men who were taken from us way too soon. So, yeah, they can go to the detectiverafaelramos.org site for their tickets, December 13th, Friday the 13th of December, 7 p.m. And I hope to, see you guys out there.
All right, you heard that, guys. JW again. I appreciate you for chopping it up with me, and we'll talk soon, brother. All right,
We'll
ladies and
talk
gentlemen.
soon.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for tuning in, guys. That's our show for the day. Until the next time, peace.